Byakuya and Soifan had been revived easily by the 4th Division while Aizen and Tosin were still rising into the sky, leaving Kyoraku and Ichigo the only wounded, and Ichigo the only one critically so. Unohana, arriving on her manta-shaped Shikai, was informed by her third seat that the first healer to touch the Ryoka had had their fingers burned to the bone trying to take his pulse, and she was able to feel for herself that he had no trace of Ryatsu. There was nothing she could do. She stood at a respectful distance with the rest of the Shinigami, including the Sotaicho and all of the captains and assistant captains on the battlefield, while the young man made his goodbyes. His last revelation made everyone's eyes widen. "He's the son of an exile?" she asked Ukitake, standing next to her. "A deserter, probably. Shiba Ishin. It has to be. The resemblance to his cousin is uncanny." He paused, then said, "I woke up when Yamamoto Dono's Bankai was attacking us. He was protecting us with his body. For a moment, I thought he was Kaien." Nearby, Yoruichi bowed her head, holding Kukaku's shoulder as she and Ganju watched silently. "Let me through!" Rukia said as she shoved her way through the crowd, having run up the staircase to the hill after the assistant captains had flash-stepped back. She paused next to her brother at the front of the assembled Shinigami, staring at the scene. "No." Ichigo's hand fell. "Ichigo!" she cried, running to his side, next to the girl who had also screamed his name. "Damn it, Ichigo! Don't do this! Don't you dare die trying to save me!" she yelled, pounding on his bare chest before pulling away with a yelp. She searched for something, anything she could think of to make him cling to life, something he would shove a sword into his heart for. "Your family needs you, Ichigo! Your sisters need you to protect them! Damn it, Ichigo! Wake up!" Somehow, that got a response. His eyes opened, and they were strange, a mixture of black and amber and a gold that Rukia couldn't recognize, but that Byakuya might have if he had been close enough to see it. "Protect!" "Yes! Corinne and Yuzu, Ichigo! They need you to protect them! You need to stay alive! Don't you dare close your eyes again!" "Protect them!" He turned his face towards Orihime, kneeling by his side. He raised his left hand towards her face, almost caressing it, but not quite touching, not quite burning. His index finger touched the 6-pointed blue star in her hair. "Kurosaki-kun." "I reject." Orihime convulsed, a golden glowing aura forming around her and flowing from her hairpin down Ichigo's arm and to his body. When he was completely covered in a golden skin, his hand dropped, and Orihime collapsed at his side, unconscious. Ichigo screamed. He continued screaming while the glow ran down to his sword, funneling into the chain that was still wrapped around his right arm. As the rejection continued down the chain, the links disappeared behind it, until the golden light was completely encased within the sword still tightly gripped in his right hand. Suddenly, there were 2 voices screaming, and the sword was growing, twisting and changing, until it formed into a kneeling young man, head thrown back, one hand held tightly within Ichigo's. He had white hair and a black horn rising from a shattered mask on his head, wearing white robes trimmed in black fur. The screaming stopped, and Ichigo was still and silent once again. The newcomer looked down at him, mismatched eyes wide. "No! No!" He turned his head, taking in the entire situation at a glance. Orihime unconscious, Rukia, Chad, and Nishida mere feet away and useless. A group of Shinigami watching from farther away. In an instant he was next to Unohana, gripping her arm. In the next, they were both beside Ichigo, and as Ichigo screamed he pulled Unohana down next to them both and grabbed Ichigo's hand once more. "Help him!" "I can't. Can't feel his Ryatsu." "Yes, you can!" She realized he was right. It was there now, where it hadn't been before, but low. So low that there was almost no difference. He was mostly dead. But mostly dead was slightly alive, and she was the finest healer Soul Society had ever seen. She got to work, calling out orders to the 4th Division members still in the area and starting a flurry of activity around her, while Ashida carried Orihime over to be checked on by Hanataro. After watching silently for a few minutes, Chad and Rukia went to where Yoruichi stood with Kukaku, Ganju, and the gathered captains. "Yoruichi-san, I need to go home." "I heard. I'll be with you. Kisuke can keep his family safe." "Captain Commander, can we use—" She paused as the young man still holding Ichigo's hand screamed once more, and divided into 2 teenagers. One was a dark-haired young man who, except for the hair color, eye color, robe, and mask, was the double of the original boy. The other looked as though someone had taken an old-fashioned photograph of Ichigo and then animated the negative film. He was pure white except for the inside of his robe, his lips, and his eyes. His white hair, though, was far longer than Ichigo's own shoulder-length mane. Both teenagers were wearing flared robes, one of black, one of white, and both were carrying daitos. In mirror image, they gasped while clutching their chests, sunk to their knees, and grabbed Ichigo's hands, the dark boy on the right and the light on the left. What did that boy do to himself? She walked over to where they lay, followed by Soifan and Chad. Unohana had just sat back, wiping her brow after her third major healing of the day. How is he doing, Unohana-san? The healer looked up at her. He is stabilized enough to be moved. There is a room being prepped for surgery in the 4th Division as we speak. We can repair him physically, and we can restore his Reiatsu. But when the body is this damaged, nothing is certain. However, so long as he himself does not give up on living, I believe he may recover. If what we saw today was typical, Yamamoto said, walking up from behind them, I don't believe we need to be concerned. Bastard's too stubborn to die, the albino said, speaking in eerie, echoing tones. He'd better wake up soon, or I'm going to kill him myself. And who are you, boy? Asked Byakuya as he, Rukia, Ukitake, and the Shibas joined the group surrounding the body. I told you already. And the boy looked up, showing eyes of hollow yellow. I don't have a name. Byakuya's eyes narrowed. You are the creature who took over Kurosaki Ichigo's body when we were fighting. He was losing. It was pathetic. I was kicking your ass before he butted in. Should you need something to call him, use Tenza Zangetsu, the boy on Ichigo's other side said, also looking up at the people surrounding them. And you, young man? What is your name? Ukitake asked, eyeing him. The boy smiled. Tenza Zangetsu. Suddenly, he shivered, and rapidly aged to an older version of himself, with sunglasses and a tattered cloak. His companion's garb changed to a white version of the Shinigami's Shihakusho, and his hair shortened to match Ichigo's ragged cut. Both of their swords changed to giant cleavers, one black and one white. On Ichigo's body, the scrap of his Bankai coat disappeared. Or Zangetsu, as the case may be. Yoruichi, and he nodded to the woman who had seen him just this morning in the underground cavern. It is good to see you again. What has he done to himself, old man? What he needed to protect the ones he loves. Unohana-san, where can we take him? She pointed to the manta ray descending from where it had been floating above the field, and the man and the boy picked up Ichigo and carried him into its open maw. Before joining them, she turned to Yamamoto. So, Taicho, I have never seen that young man before he destroyed the Hogyoku stand this afternoon. I would have bet my life on it, Unohana said, until I healed him. It is not the first time. From the traces of my Reiatsu, it was perhaps 10 weeks ago. Certainly not more than 3 months. Yamamoto nodded, looking after the trio contemplatively. It is good to have independent confirmation of his words. The boy claims to be from the future. Chad's eyes widened. Ichigo. We fought earlier today, Captain Commander, Byakuya stated, and he did not show anywhere near the power that he did just now. Soifan bowed her head, her bangs shadowing her eyes. How many years must it have been, then, for him to grow so much? For how long will this new war extend? Let's ask, Yoruichi said cheerfully. She yelled at the manta where it rested on the ground awaiting its mistress. Hey Zangetsu! The kid said he was from the future! How far? November! Soifan and Byakuya choked. I love that boy, Yoruichi laughed. She looked at the captain of the 6th Division. Don't look so surprised, Byakuya-bo. You took Rukia's powers away from him. Last month he got his own powers and achieved Shikai. This morning, Bankai. Extrapolate the growth curve. She ruffled his hair while walking past. Hey, Unohana, can you heal my hand? Unohana touched the burn, with Ichigo's handprint easily recognizable, and the finger marks that no one had been able to see her acquiring faded and disappeared. Without a word, Yamamoto and Rukia extended their hands for the same treatment. Yoruichi turned to Chad, still grinning. Come on, kid. Ichigo will be fine. Unohana's the best there is. Yamamoto so Taicho, can we use the main Senkaimon gate? Pardon me, Yoruichi-san, but I would like to accompany you, Ukitake said, coming to join them. It will be good to see Ishin again. You know him, Taicho-san? Chad asked in bemusement, still a little startled that the goofy doctor who had patched him up several times was a Shinigami. He was the captain of the 7th Division for a few decades, until he was promoted to the Royal Guard about 50 years ago. 20 years ago, we received word that he deserted during a mission to the human world. He met someone he considered worth it just for the chance, and came to Kisuke for a power-draining Gigai the very first day, Yoruichi said, smiling sadly. They took her name when they married. Kurosaki Masaki was an amazing woman. She would have been so proud of Ichigo. Mind if we tag along with you? A voice asked from behind them. Ukitake turned, a smile on his face. Shunsui, should you be up? My Nanao-chan fixed me right up. It's a good thing the kid wasn't wearing any white at all, isn't it? Behind him, Issei pushed her glasses up and muttered that the 4th Division had done most of the work, a slight blush on her face. And that the color you called out wasn't black, Ukitake agreed. Kyoraku looked past Ukitake to Chad, tipping his hat back. So that's the guy? Chad recalled the first time they had met, when he had told Kyoraku that he was risking his life for Rukia because Ichigo was trying to save her. He nodded silently. Kyoraku gave him a searching gaze, one that made Chad remember just how very dangerous the laid-back man could be. Finally, he gave Chad a nod in return and tipped his hat forward again so that it hid his eyes. Looks like he's worth it. I'm glad. Shall we go? I'm coming too, Yoruichi-sama. Soifan had seen her mentor's throat ripped out mere minutes after they reconciled, and was still not quite willing to let her out of her sight. Yoruichi nodded and the 6 walked away. Chad would be escorted to the living world with an honor guard of a lieutenant and 4 captain-class Shinigami, and Ichigo's family would soon be safe. As Unohana jumped onto the top of her manta ray, Yamamoto approached the abortive trader. Gin and Matsumoto were standing together, his arm around her shoulder and hers around his waist, as they and their guards watched the various dramas playing out before them. Hisagi and Tetsuzaemon had eventually started feeling stupid holding their swords at Gin's neck when he was doing nothing more threatening than grope his girlfriend, and now merely stood at his back with their swords unsheathed. They all straightened to attention as the Captain Commander approached. Gin. Yamamoto Sotaicho? His smile was back, and his eyes were once again only slits underneath his eyelids. You will be held in the detention block of the 1st Division. You had better have a damn good explanation for this, youngin. Give us the truth of your background and your intentions. If you hold anything back, we will know when we compare your story with the Ryoka's. Cooperate, and your punishment will be lessened. Gin merely continued to smile at him. I want him dead, Yamaji. I'll do what I can so you can kill him. He paused. Or rather, so that the kid can kill him. Kinda scary, isn't he? He's just a teenager, if I'm remembering right. What must the future have been like, to make him? I hope we never know, murmured Matsumoto, stepping away from him while the other 2 vice-captains came close and gripped Gin's arms. He smiled over his shoulder at Hisagi. Raced you to the 1st Division, and in a blur he was gone, leaving Shuhei and Iba cursing and flashing after him. After a short pause, Matsumoto dared to question her ultimate superior. What will happen to him, Yamamoto Sotaicho? Though he frowned slightly at her temerity, the day had been long enough that Yamamoto let it pass. We will review his actions to this point. At the very least, he has aided and abetted treason. Kurosaki's testimony, if it bears out, will weigh in his favor, but it is still the word of Ryoka about an event that has never come to pass. The central, no, they were dead, and he wouldn't have to worry about them for some time, would he? They were under martial law at the moment. He was in charge. It had been a very long day for him to have forgotten that. But his people were alive. They were all alive, even though he had seen 5 of his finest dead before his eyes. He felt every one of his years weighing him down at that moment. Never mind. If he has not actually killed anyone, if he did not actively participate in the murder of the Central 46, and if he gives us the information we need, then I can be lenient. There are ways of viewing memories, if the person with the memory has a strong enough Reiatsu. Both of them qualify. If what the boy said is true, it sounds as though we will need Gin with a 3rd soon enough. Thank you, Captain Commander. On the other side of the plateau, Rukia bowed, her brother waiting a few paces away. A number of important explanations had been made in the past few minutes. I said it's all right! Kukaku said, slamming Rukia on the head. The younger woman stared up at her, wide-eyed. Ukitake told me everything, she said, turning around and walking a few paces away. It wasn't your fault. But you've been torturing yourself this entire time. So, I decided long ago that if you ever apologized, I'd forgive you. Then the one-armed woman looked over her shoulder at Rukia and said, Besides, it sounds like, if it weren't for you, my younger cousins would have died. If it makes you feel better, consider the debt repaid. Rukia smiled, tears in her eyes. Thank you, Kukaku-dono. And don't call me that! And they would all walk into the future together. Chapter 2 Teaser. You're getting way ahead of yourself, King. Looking forward is all well and good, and it's always nice to have a plan, but you've still got to pull yourself together. And, the Hollow said, as he stood up and placed the tip of the white sword over Ichigo's heart, all this talk is useless if I kill you now.